Hi guys, welcome back. Let's talk about Rugby World Cup warm-up matches, the summer series, whatever you want to call it. The Rugby Championship is gone, although they were kind of Rugby World Cup warm-ups as well, and maybe even really good ones in a competitive environment. But anyway, we're into this summer series. We've had a few already. I'm going to go through the four pools, let you know what I think of the warm-up fixture lists, give you a little overview of what to expect, how they might relate to how the pools go, quarterfinals, that sort of thing. And I'd love to know your thoughts on your team's fixture list getting ready for this Rugby World Cup. Are they good ones? Are they not good ones? Let's start with Pool A, New Zealand, and they are playing, well, two more against Rugby Championship opposition, really. So, another two hard oppositions. They've got the return Bledisloe Cup match against Australia, and I fully expect New Zealand to rotate a lot of players in this one because they've been pretty consistent in their selection actually in the Rugby Championship. If they can get another win against Australia with a rotated team, that's going to be good news. I know Australia don't want half-baked teams, but it still might be too much for them. We will see. Australia, they'll be desperate for a win. But anyway, then they play South Africa again. It's always great having New Zealand, South Africa. So they will have had 5 really hard fixtures, will New Zealand. Is it a little bit of a mistake not playing a Northern Hemisphere team? Yeah, very possibly, because in their pool they've got France, Italy. I mean, they should get out of this pool. First up against France, though, when they haven't played a Northern Hemisphere team. I don't know, maybe that is a bit of a slip up, but they'll be incredibly battle hardened, that is for sure. Then on to the host France, and they've got a nice spread in their 4 fixtures. Scotland away, then home. I like that. Scotland play a really fast game that will stress the French defence for sure. France would expect to hopefully get at least one win from those 2 games. I'm sure both sides will rotate around. Then they play a Pacific Island team, Fiji, probably the best Pacific Island team. Then the Southern Hemisphere team in Australia. It's a really nice spread. It should set them up nicely. Like I said, they should progress from this pool anyway. But when they progress, they're probably going to face either South Africa, Scotland or Ireland in a quarter-final. So they should be well set up for that. Those 4 games will see lots of rotation, no doubt. So I like their fixtures. Then on to Italy. They've had a fixture already, a loss against Scotland. Italy played pretty well for a lot of that game, but Scotland were too good for them in the end. Then they're going away to Ireland, which is going to be incredibly tough. And then they're playing Japan, which is the one they probably need to win, or they could be 3 losses going into a World Cup, which isn't great, especially when they know they're going to need a historic win against France or New Zealand to progress from this group. So a slow build for Italy. I don't know if it's going to be enough. Then on to Uruguay, and they've already had a win, a very close win against Chile, so that's great for the confidence. And also it's a dress rehearsal next up against Namibia, the side they're going to hope to try and beat in this pool because it could well be their only win. Then a clever little fixture against an Argentina 15, so the non-test squad if you like. So that's a good little list there because it's really all gearing up to try and win that game against Namibia, so that's kind of vice versa for Namibia. Then on to Pool B, South Africa. First up is Argentina again, a return fixture there, having only won by a point against them in South Africa. They're going to want to put that right, although they're going to have a very different side. They've sent a different squad over to Argentina, rested a lot of players, but they did pretty well when they played Australia with, a mixed around side. They play Wales, which is really important to have a Northern Hemisphere opponent in there because they've got 2 of them in their pool. And then they end on that big clash with New Zealand. So they'll be incredibly well prepared. They'll know their best team by then. Then let's have a look at Ireland 3. Start with Italy. I think that's a nice building game. Should be tough, but they should win that. Then they're at home again to England. And then finish off with Samoa, where they might rotate a bit. So I like it. It's tough, but not too tough. They can play their first choice team in some games. They can rotate a bit, get a Pacific Island team, because they've also got Tonga in their pool. So I quite like that one from Ireland. Then on to Scotland, already with that good win against Italy, where they tried a few things, playing without Stuart Hogg for 1, getting Ben Healy a full 80 minutes and played great at fly half. They've got 4 good fly half options. That's a great battle there. Stafford McDowell getting a cap in the centres, Darcy Graham off and running in his scoring. Then they've got a double header, if you like, at home, then away to France. That's going to be super tough, going to really show where they're at, and then they're probably going to mix around their squad for that Georgia game. So definitely tough, and then really tough in the middle, and then they can kind of mix around at the start and the end. So I do like that for Scotland, because they do have that pool of death. They're going to need a big performance, but I like the build up there. Romania, really interesting list, and it's going to be interesting to see how they match up against these three teams: USA, Georgia, Italy. They're going to want to get some wins from it for sure, because it's a super tough pool. They may not win any games in their pool, so they may want to show what they can do in these warm-up games, maybe get a consolation prize by winning some of these warm-up games. So I'm actually going to be watching those three fixtures as kind of like a mini tournament in itself. Then Tonga already played 2 games and 2 losses, which is disappointing, especially considering they've got that star-studded squad, the best squad they've had for ages. They should win against Canada last up, and then they're going to want to win against Romania, and then they'll need another big win or 2 as well in that pool to progress. So super tough pool, another talented squad in there. So that pool B is just an absolute rip-roarer. Now, I always make a bit of a joke about the Welsh fixture coordinator. Always selects really tough fixtures for Wales in the summer or the autumn. And this is a tough 3-game period without really a game that they, are expected to win. A home against England is the one they're going to want to start fast. I mean, it's a new squad. Gatland's got a huge Welsh training squad. They don't know what their best team is really. So if they get a win against England, that's a great start. But then they're at home to England and then against South Africa. So they could even be 3 losses. So quite a key period for Wales here. They need to get at least 1 win, I think, in these warm-ups and find what their best team is. So it's pretty tough stuff. I mean, Georgia's already beaten them. Fiji are looking strong, so it's such a tough pool for them. They're going to need 3 big games in those warm-ups. So let me know what you think about those, Welsh fans, if you're worried or not. Australia already played the Rugby Championship, not found their best team, 3 losses. So they're going to need something from these 2 warm-up games, but look at the 2 warm-up games they've got. New Zealand. It is going to be a mixed up New Zealand, I think, for sure, because they haven't tried a lot of players. They're still going to be very good. And then France away. It's just so tough. I mean, it's in the Stade de France as well, I think, that French game. So they could well be going into the World Cup with 5 losses. Ouch. Not sure they're the greatest 2 warm-up fixtures there for Australia, so could be going into that pool a shot of confidence. They've still got a great chance of qualifying because, it's not the strongest pool. That half of the draw isn't the strongest. But yeah, could be a tough one. Fiji played 2 games already, and I like the look of Fiji. I've mentioned them before. They've got 2 wins already against their Pacific Island rivals, Tonga and Samoa. Then they build with Japan and then France and England. So I like the mix. Tough games, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. Plenty of games there for sure. I hope they rest their key players as well, because you could say it's too many. I don't know for Fiji. But with that Fijian Drua player base, they look so much more a joined up team. They've got a great chance here. If they get a win against maybe Australia or Wales, hopefully they'll beat Georgia and Portugal, they would think. They've got a great chance of going to a quarter-final here. So 5 games, plenty of time to get into it. Got 2 wins already. They're looking pretty good. Then we've got Georgia, who play European rivals Romania. USA will be a nice close game as well. Scotland, a lot tougher game away there, but pretty sensible. Some winnable games and a tougher test at the end with Scotland. So they should be quite fresh, only 3 games. They're going to need some huge wins in that pool. They're certainly going to be wanting to beat Portugal, who I can only find play the USA. Let me know if they play any more games. Quite a good warm-up. Should be fairly well matched. I mean, one thing that the Portuguese have got going for them is that amazing jersey. If you haven't seen my video on the World Cup jerseys, have a look at that. But they're going to need a bit more than a great jersey if they're going to get a win in that pool. Then on to Pool D, on to England. They've got 4 games back-to-back against Wales to start. It's a double-edged sword. They could get, say, 2 wins and really be off and running. They could get 2 losses or whatever. I mean, they're winnable games, but they're definitely losable games as well. So that's going to be make or break, I say, for England. They need to get some results and some good performances in those first 2 games. They haven't got too long to get their team sorted because they go away to Ireland next, and they're going to need their strongest team to compete there, or their confidence could be shot if they get panned in Ireland. So quite a lot riding, I think, on those first 2 games against Wales. Then they finish against Fiji, who are one of the hottest teams right now, who will really stretch your defence. Not as hard as maybe playing a South Africa or New Zealand. So, I quite like the spread of fixtures there. Tough, not too tough. They could come out of it with some momentum or completely shot of confidence. So kind of a tournament within itself there for England. Now on to Japan, and they've got a close loss and a close win, Samoa and Tonga. And I don't think this Japanese team is quite the team it was 4 years ago. Still very good, still very capable, but they're going to have to go some to get out of this group. But it's not the worst group either, so they've got a chance to progress if they get it right. They've got Fiji next and Italy. I'm not sure they're going to win those 2 games. So Japan, not so sure. They're quite honest at the moment, but they're going to want to get a couple of wins in this pool. At least that's their target. Argentina, well, they've got South Africa, the return fixture next. I have mentioned South Africa will be sending probably a mixed squad to Argentina, leaving some players at home, but that's still plenty good enough to win. We've seen that before with Australia, but Argentina will want to get a win there, show they can do it when they were so close last time. And then the fixture against Spain does look like one where Argentina can mix around the rest of their squad who are fighting for places in the 33-man World Cup squad. They probably should have sorted their best team by then. And then Samoa, like we said, that close win against Japan. Then the loss against Fiji. So it doesn't look like they're quite the level of Fiji, but they're still very capable. I mean, the Ireland fixture there is a really tough test. I expect Ireland to rotate a lot for that fixture, but it will still tell them a lot. They would expect to win against Chile in their pool, but can they beat anybody else? I'm not sure. It's going to be close. Samoa are going to be there or thereabouts, but I'm just not quite sure they're good enough to progress. Then finally, Chile, who will have won many neutral fans in the way that they qualified for the World Cup, so they should get plenty of good support. A very sensible fixture list here to warm up for the World Cup. Close loss against Uruguay, which isn't too much of a problem. Then they should be well matched against Namibia, and then against an Argentina 15, so not their full test side. It's pretty sensible. Can they get a win in that pool? They're going to have to go some, but I think it's quite a clever way to warm up. They should be fairly fresh going into that pool. So that's how I see all the warm-up fixture list. Let me know if you think someone's got a particularly good list, a particularly terrible list. Who's going to be looking good going into the World Cup? All the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.